Thanks for your support as a channel member, Felix Schwer. It's that time again, folks. After a successful end to our third season, it is now time for another season review transfer special as we prepare for life in tier 7? We're going into tier 7. Hello and welcome to part 23 of the Bourne Legacy. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have that season review and transfer special as we try and keep this team together as much as possible. But realistically, we're probably going to be building an entirely new team because, of course, we still can't offer proper contracts to players. You can see Jamal Hector Ingram finishing the season on 42 goals. I think that's going to be a record that lasts for quite a long time. I hope he's made it onto the favoured personnel list. So there's Plange, me, Mata, Day, Shuka. There is Hector Ingram, Simmons and Smith. It's like a who's who of who've been our best players over the course of the save so far. So I quite like that. Be interesting to see which one of us moves into icon status first. Them lot were all only here for a year. I've done 3 now. It should be me. So schedule-wise, if we just have a look at how the season ended, as you can imagine, it ended with lots of wins. We did pick up another defeat now. That's the first time we'd lost in the league since way back in August when we lost to Corinthian Casuals in the 3rd game of the season. They're the only 2 defeats we had all season long. But as you can see, Jamal Hector Ingram scoring for fun throughout the run-in. And this is how the league table finished. So 104 points. We finished 31 points clear of Chertsey. Hector Ingram, only 2nd top scorer, though. Nathan Corkery from Chertsey. We're going to give him a little bit of a scout because somehow he's managed to score more goals than Hector Ingram, despite the fact the 2 previous years he's not been anything special. I don't know what's happened to that boy to make him that good, but we probably need to keep a little bit of an eye on him. But let's get into the normal season review stuff. In fact, we've gone one too far there because I saved it when I saw it was happening. So this is our new all-time best 11 starting to take shape. Winterton, still the goalkeeper for the all-time best 11. He's still at Westfield. And as you can see, this shows how far we've moved on. He wouldn't get close to our bench now, it's impressive stuff how much better than Winterton we've got because he was an absolute superstar for us in that first season. Mata still in the best 11, but now at left back. He's now playing for Stocksbridge and presumably playing at left back because he's not scoring goals for him. I mean, will he ever have a season like that again? Who knows? But he's still in the team as a left back despite being in there for how he played as a striker. Francis and Bellawain as the centre-back. So Liam Francis now playing for Halmond. Is that how you would say it? How do all these other teams manage to keep their players for so long, by the way, when we can't? Is it because they're not in demand? Bellawain obviously still with us. Will he still be with us at the start of next season? Who knows? Fossey is in at right back. He's now with Southend, where he did play 5 games for Southend in League 2 after joining them last year, but is showing as being part of their under-23 squad. So it might be worth us trying to get him on loan next year. That's what I'm going to look to do with some of these players who move on to bigger and better things, but maybe aren't enjoying them. We're going to try and get some of them back on loan. We already tried it with both Plange and Carty, and to be fair, they both laughed at me. So I don't know how likely it is we'll get Fossey back, but we will certainly try. Liddell and Smith as our central midfield partnership shows how much of an impact Ben Liddell made when he joined us partway through the season, finally giving Smith a partner, only playing 24 games, but did so well with them that it got him into the all-time best 11 alongside Smith, who, I mean, we know how good Matthew Smith is. If he's still here at the start of next year, that would be absurd. He's not going to be, but we certainly got a good full season out of him. Hector Ingram is in the all-time best 11 on the left wing. It shows how many good strikers we've had now, that we've got the 2 strikers plus 1 on the left wing and 1 at left back. So Hector Ingram is in based on this season he's just had again. Good to see us get a full season out of a player. Lee's in on the right-hand side, and you cannot argue with that at all. He has been immense on the right-hand side of our midfield. 14 goals, 10 assists in the league. In fact, forget in the league. In all competitions, he's played 53 matches, 24 goals, 15 assists. That is not bad for a right winger, averaging a 7.53 as well. And then up front, Connor Carty, who's still at Cork City. He looks like he has actually broken into their team this year. Last season, lots of substitute appearances. not a lot of goals, but the Irish season isn't that old because obviously it runs over the summer. So it looks like he started the season as a fairly regular starter. He's playing well and scoring goals. So good to see Conor Carty doing well for Cork City. And he's partnered by Luke Plange, who's another one who's been dropped down into the under-23 squad for the club that he went to. He went to Brentford in the Championship, made his debut almost immediately, but since then has just been down in the under-23s. It's hard to believe Luke Plange, only 19 years old still, based on just how good he was for us. But it's mad, just mad. So the end of season awards, we already saw a little sneak preview of this. Hector Ingram, as you would expect, winning player of the season, 36% of the vote. Matthew Smith in second place on 28% and Leahy third on 22%. And you can't argue with that at all. If we're doing this based on players who are still here so they can collect their award, I think that they're the three, and I think that's probably the right order as well. I might have had Leahy ahead of Smith, maybe. Goal of the season goes to Hector Ingram for this goal against Accrington, which was way back in the FA Cup earlier on in the season. Is that our Jay Clark in their team? Did I not notice that at the time? We might need to have another little look, because if that's James Clark has ended up there, that's mad. Why isn't he in the all-time best 11? That is a lovely finish from Hector Ingram. Can we just have a little look at Accrington? I need to know if that's James Clark. Jordan Clark. Different Jay Clark. Not interested. Hector Ingram also getting signing of the season and young player of the season. It's fair to say Jamal Hector Ingram went down really rather well with the Bourne fans. Team of the year then has Daniels in goal, a back four of Dice, Wiggett, Bellawain and Fossey, Little and Smith in midfield, Garcia and Leahy as the wingers, and Plange and Hector Ingram up front. And of course our top scorer, Hector Ingram, 42 goals. He also got the highest average rating at 7.64. Most assists is for Smith on 16, which, I mean, I don't even think of him as an assist machine, but clearly he is. I would have expected Lee to win that award, but Smith, as well as pulling all the strings in midfield, is creating quite a few goals as well. Best pass completion is Hector Ingram. Most man of the matches is Hector Ingram. Ben Davis, most yellow cards, and we didn't have a player sent off all year. Once again, we've performed to expectations, making it through to the first round of the FA Cup. A little bit disappointing in the other two cup competitions that we were part of, but we did, of course, win our third consecutive promotion. Our trophy cabinet is ever growing, and the board are now looking for one more promotion, and then they're expecting things to calm down a little bit. So once we hit the National League North-South, they're expecting us to start to struggle. So it'd be interesting to see if that is where we struggle. But the board think we're going to win again next year. So we should be moving up to the Isthmian League Premier Division. There's obviously no guarantee we will. We could end up in the Southern Premier League or the Northern Premier League. But I think we'll probably stay in the one that we're in. And then that'll be hopefully one more consecutive promotion, and then once we hit the north-south, not only can we actually have a little bit of consolidation according to the board who are expecting relegation battles, but it also gives us a chance to actually start building a long-term squad at that point as well, because we'll be able to offer proper contracts, which will be very splendid. Every year they try and get me to do counter-attacking football, and I am still not interested in doing it, so we're just going to keep taking that out. What are you going to do, sack me? Fine. Looks like we start counter-attacking this year because the board, Simic Powell is insisting. He's famous for his counter-attacking football from his time at home. What is he saying? But that is our season review. If we just have a little look at the team as well, just sort them by goals. Obviously, we know Hector Ingram, Lee, second top scorer. Obviously, Plange would have been above him, but not here anymore. McKendy, 22 goals is a great return. Garcia, 19 goals. So they've been the major sources of goals along with Plange. Assists, Smith, Lee, Garcia, all in double figures for those. Best players, I mean, you would expect them to be in that order. And then if we have a look to see who the best players at the club are, ability-wise. Now, Matthew Smith on 4.5 stars, still considered our best player, although he's now only considered to be a League One player rather than a Championship player. But again, pinch of salt, our coaches aren't good enough to really know that. Ben Liddell, second best player currently at the club. McGuinness as well. And quite a few of the signings we brought in during the season. Encouraging signs for our transfer policy and our best potential players. Again, it's Smith. Smith is a very good football player. So our plan from here, as with every summer, is pretty much to wait for July, see how many players we've got left when we get there, and then try and have our pick from Premier League youngsters. But first, of course, we'll have a quick look at our Patreon boys, but I suspect they've all retired. It's a bit of a problem at the moment because we're progressing so quickly. They're retiring before they have a chance to actually get into the team. So are there any in there? There's nobody there with a star next to them. He might have. I gave Keith Watson an appearance towards the end of the season. There you go. So Keith Watson is one of the Patreon boys. He is going to be leaving at the end of the season because he's not good enough. But he's actually wanted by some clubs, so he might actually stay in the game. But he did play a couple of times at the end of the season, just to give him a little bit of game time. But I think he is the only one currently, and because so many of them drift out of the team at the moment. You can see from this year's youth candidates. I didn't even post this one up for it's not Patreon anymore, it's channel members, isn't it? Channel members, not Patreon, channel members. I didn't even post this one up for channel members because I think it's a little bit unfair anyone picking one of these at the moment. We will get to the point where we get some good potential players in, and I want you to have those. I want this year's Lyric Fernandez. So, I mean, if anyone is a channel member and particularly wants one of those, let me know down in the comments, but I'm going to assume you probably don't, and we can wait for a future youth intake where we'll get some better players, because I can tell you now, Lawrence Prendeville, the best of the bunch, is never getting in our team. He will just be released once his youth contract is done. And we have made it through to the 1st of July relatively unscathed. Couple of bits of news. Firstly, Sir Mick Powell threw £140,000 at us. That's welcome. Thank you, Sir Mick. Secondly, we're not going to be in the Isthmian Premier League this year. We're actually in the Premier Division South, which I think is the old Southern League. It's all branded under Bet Victor now at that level. So I think you have the Bet Victor Isthmian League, Bet Victor Southern League, Bet Victor Northern League. So we're in the Southern Premier Division. So presumably we're on course for promotion to the National League South next year, assuming we do well again. And as you can see, we do still have a pretty good team for this level as it stands right now. Obviously, that team is subject to being completely dismantled over the course of the rest of the summer. We are favourites to go up as champions at the moment. Transfer business has already begun. Ben Liddell has already left the club. He's gone to Carlisle. They're paying him nearly £1,000 a week to sit on the bench in League Two, presumably. We've brought in 2 players as well. Jake Logan, who I guess his parents were big Paul fans. I'm young. He's a new right back, 3-star current ability, 4.5-star potential ability, comes in from Liverpool. And we brought one in from Everton as well. Lewis Warrington is a 19-year-old central midfielder who really is the replacement for Liddell in the midfield there. He's almost, he's nowhere near as good as Smith, but better than everyone else we've got. And we know how much the midfield didn't really click last year until we got Liddell in there, and Warrington already performing at a League Two level. That's the kind of standard of player I want to be bringing in this summer. And there's also been a few players released. Okay, one player released. Neil Dans has finally retired. I'm almost tempted to bring him in some kind of coaching capacity, but I don't want him to be my assistant manager, and he doesn't want to do anything else. So that is the state of things at the moment. Doesn't necessarily tell the whole story, though, because as you can see, there are a number of our players currently under offer for other clubs. So we could be on the verge of losing a whole lot of player. So as ever at this point, the plan is just to bring in any free transfer players that we've scouted over the course of the year. For a second there, I thought Connor Carty was on a free transfer. Then I realised I haven't put the free transfer filter on yet. I got so very excited for a moment there. So we'll bring in anybody who's unattached. I mean, that's not a lot of people. We'll bring in those players on trial. We don't want to bring in anyone who's below a 70, really below a 75 would be my normal thing, but that would be nobody. So we'll just bring in all the ones that have got a green scout rating just to have a little look at. And then the way I get all the Premier League youngsters, which people have asked before, is usually director of football recommendations. So come on here, free transfer, and just literally go through this position by position, asking for who are the good free transfers. If you do this on the morning of the 1st of July, this is when the best stuff is available. You can even filter by position if you want to be really fussy. I'm not really interested in being super fussy. You've seen the quality of players we bring in. I think we do all right doing it this way. If we do look like we're starting to struggle, then obviously I'll mix things up and do it slightly differently. But we now just go through. There's no way to offer them trials as a group these days. There used to be in old versions of Football Manager. So then I have to go through and offer each one of them a trial. I'll be back in a minute. So by 1:15 on the 1st of July, we have all of our trialists in. And now we just go through and make offers for the ones who look like that they're going to make the biggest difference to the team. It's interesting to see. There's it's a much smaller selection this time, presumably because they're all being rated against players who were already here. We've still got a lot of last summer's players knocking around, the likes of Garcia, Smith, obviously Belouane. These are players who came in last summer, so Leahy. I expect a lot of these to leave and us to have their replacements ready. So, like, for example, I'm going to look to bring in probably 2 right wingers. We've only got Leahy at the club at the moment. I'm certain he's going to leave because look at the calibre of teams that are in for him. So I'm working on the assumption he will be gone. So we need to bring in 2 players round the back of him. We've got plenty of wage budget to play with. So I'm just going to sit here, offer contracts. I mean, if we can get someone like this, that's pretty mad. And it looks like we're going to be able to. So let's see how many of these we get to sign. First batch of players in, and to be honest, unless we get a load leave, this is probably first and last batch. We've brought in quite a few. It does leave us a little bit over on our wage budget, but I am expecting a few more players to leave. In fact, if we have a look at the current players who were under offer, these 3 rather splendidly. This is new. Belouane, Wiggett and Garcia all turned down offers to go to bigger clubs. So that's interesting. I don't really mind if Rowe, Maswanisi and Ter all leave because they'll bring our budgets down. But the ones we've brought in are these ones. We'll just go through them very quickly. We've already seen Logan and Warrington. We have signed Scott Brown, who's an 18-year-old right back. He is previously of Wolves. Obviously, if you want to look in these in any more detail, just pause on them and have a little look. We've got Graham Dodds, who's a 19-year-old striker. We looked at him before, formerly of Manchester United. Brian Brown, an 18-year-old goalkeeper. He is formerly of Chelsea. I love the fact we get all these Premier League rejects. Reece Jones, who is a 20-year-old right winger. He comes in from Stoke. Miles Roberts is a 20-year-old goalkeeper. He comes in from Reading. Ryan Lloyd is 28 years old. What an old man. Can play central midfield or up on the left wing. He's someone we've actually had in non-league to legend before. And he was a bit of a hero, which is the main reason I wanted to bring him in. There's no real logic behind bringing him in, other than the fact that he's, I mean, to be fair, he's a leading player for this division, so he's not even from the division above, but he can be a Tommy Rowe replacement, plays in the same positions as Tommy Rowe. He's experienced like Tommy Rowe, and Tommy Rowe is probably leaving. Sam McClend is a 20-year-old centre-back who comes in from Chelsea, so we're back into the normal kind of stuff now. Kieran Freeman, 22-year-old Scottish under-21 international right-back, comes in from Southampton. Emmanuel Longolo is a 21-year-old Congolese left-winger, but can play in so many other positions as well. He comes in from Leeds. Tyler Garrett is a 25-year-old left-back. Another old man alert. He's League 2, League 1 experience previously. Josh Morton is an 18-year-old striker who comes in from Burnley. And then lastly, for this batch, Callum Wright is a 22-year-old central midfield player, comes in from Leicester, and is another very, very good one. Despite losing Liddell, I think we've upgraded the midfield. If we can keep Smith and have Wright and Warrington competing to partner him, that's awesome. Even Wright and Warrington as the new partnership if Smith ultimately leaves as well. I don't think we're that much worse off in central midfield than we were previously. So this is what the squad depth is. Lots of depth up front. I mean, we could probably do with players coming in these wide areas. Midfield looks super strong. Defence as well, looking very strong. And we've got a lot of young goalkeepers who haven't yet been moved up to the full squad. So I think decent bunch of business. And really, the plan for the rest of the summer, we'll keep an eye on what the scouts find. So anyone the scouts find, we will offer them a trial. We're not actively looking anymore, but if anybody comes up and they're available on a free, we'll bring them in just to have a little look, because this is where we found Hector Ingram doing this, because you get the odd one who just suddenly appears and, hello, you look a bit special. Look at the state of that. So much better than Leahy. So we obviously have to offer him a contract. Whether or not we can afford him is a different matter. There you go. We might be able to afford him. We'll just try and force him down just a smidgen. And then, like I say, I'm still expecting plenty of players to leave the club, although not as many as I was expecting have gone just yet. Another tempting one. We don't really need an attacking midfielder, though, do we? Well, I think this has accidentally become the shortest transfer special I've ever done. We've made it through that summer relatively unscathed. We ended up losing Tommy Rowe. He's gone to play for Hereford, who are giving him £1,300 a week to go and play in the National League North, just one division above where we are. When are we going to get to start offering contracts? Bellawain went to Stockport, who are going to pay him £1,400 a month to play in the National League North, one division above us. McKendy has gone to Harrogate, £1,400 a month to play two divisions above us in the National League. And Garcia has gone to Wickham, £925 a month. Interesting that he's gone to League One, where he's already made his debut and is earning less than any of the rest of them. We did sign one more player. Luke Cundall is another central midfielder who has come in from Wolves. But we are comfortably within budgets at the moment, and this is what our squad looks like after those few departures. So we're pretty much fully set in every position, with a lot of familiar faces still around. Hector Ingram's still here. Lee's still here. Smith still here. Wiggett still here. Those four, if you'd have said, I would have taken just keeping those four and losing everybody else we had last year. So the fact we've still got others knocking around, like Lennon, like McGuinness, they're bonuses, which is awesome. So, yeah, I've got to call that a successful transfer window, albeit a weirdly short video because I was expecting lots more shenanigans to happen. It is going to be the last one of these weird transfer windows, though, with Bourne, because I'm hoping if we get promoted this year, which we should, if we have a look at the season preview again, now we've done all our transfers, you can see we do now have the best players in every position. Including a new goalkeeper who is 14 years younger than the previous one. But we have the best 11 players in the division. We probably have the best 18 players in the division, I imagine. We are very, very strong odds-on favourites to win the league. And as soon as we get into the National League South next year, which I think is where we'll end up, surely at that point we can start tying some of these players down to proper contracts, at which point we can start doing proper transfer windows, because if at that point we're bringing in League One quality players, and there's no reason to suggest we shouldn't because we are now, if we're doing it then, you'd like to think each summer will involve selling some players or keeping the bulk of the squad as it is. Hopefully we have another good year. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos, and thank you very much for watching.